Hi viewers, you are welcome to Paradigm Shifts and my name is Vera Bernince Apia. You can simply call me VB. And I have here with me
Timiekka.
Okay, Timiekka. So what are your personal values you stand for and what you do and everything? Just let us know.
Yeah, so I'm 25 years old,
Okay.
and I am currently a registered behavior technician for kids with autism.
Wow.
And I'm also about to start grad school to become a behavior analyst as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, you have a lot of things going on. I'm really proud of you.
Thank you.
So today we have a very interesting topic and it's about autism awareness. And just as she mentioned, she's a specialist and she has a lot for us. So what do you think about autism?
I think autism is something that more people are now becoming aware of. There's a lot of misconceptions about it, and it's just a very interesting topic overall. So it's definitely a very fulfilling field to work in, but I'm happy to be able to discuss what it actually is about.
Okay, so talking about misconceptions, what do you think autism is about and what is not? Is it about someone being mad or is it about someone having a Down syndrome? Tell me everything about it.
Yeah, so autism is a developmental disorder.
Okay.
A lot of people think it's the same as mental retardation,
Okay.
but it's actually very different. So it's different for everyone, just like any disorder. Not everyone's going to have the same symptoms, but a lot of it is struggles with speech delays or emotional regulation or behavior based. It's really based a lot on behavior. Okay. It's not the same as Down syndrome. Okay. And I think there's just not a lot of clear knowledge about what it really entails. But for the most part, it's more so you are behind. Okay. Compared to some of your peers when it comes to like I said, talking. They might start talking later. Okay. Than most of your peers do. You might have difficulty with calming yourself down when you get upset or accepting certain challenges and knowing how to work through them. And also a big part of it is how you deal with things socially. A lot of them don't have the same social skills that we might have, whether that's how to hold a conversation or even just how to just interact with your peers on an everyday basis. Okay.
So what are some of the early signs of autism?
So you can start showing signs very early on, as young as 2 years old.
Wow.
And some ways that you might know, okay, your child might have autism is there's what they call stims.
Okay.
So these are things that kids might do, or not just kids, autistic people in general might do that they do repeatedly and they might not seem normal. So for example, a big sign is if your child likes to spin in circles while looking out the side of their eye, that's a big sign that that child has autism. Or going back to the emotional regulation piece, if they're upset, they might have a really high-pitched screech and scream, and they might be kind of aggressive or violent, as some people would describe it. And it might be over just small things that most of us would just brush off. And then also another sign could be if they're not talking at the age that most kids talk at, or they don't have the fine motor skills that they should have for their age, then you should probably get them tested to see.
Okay. Get them tested.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So as we all clearly heard, if you have or you start experiencing these signs, you don't just tell yourself that you are autistic. You have to go to the hospital to be tested first. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So are autistic people slow learners?
No, not necessarily. Again, everyone's different, but a lot of autistic people are just as intelligent, if not more intelligent, than people who are not autistic. And even I think another misconception is if a child who has autism is nonverbal, that it means that they're not intelligent. But when you find the proper ways to help them communicate with you, you'll learn that they know a lot of things. They just can't say it to you.
Okay.
So like at my job, we have different devices that they can use, whether it's a PEX book that has like different icons that they can touch to communicate with you what they want. Okay. Or if it's an iPad that has the same thing, but it can vocalize. Okay. We'll use those devices, and they know their alphabet. They know how to read, a lot of them. They know like how to match things, sort things, like the same things that any other kid their age can do. They can do it. They just need the tools to communicate it to you, because they can't say it like verbally.
Okay. Wow, sounds great. So what advice would you give to the society in terms of dealing with someone with autism?
I think being informed is important. If you don't know something, it's hard to understand it and hard to know how to approach it. Yeah. But I think once you understand the like science behind it, or at least have a grasp of the concept that like they don't fully understand that what they're doing isn't normal, or they don't know the alternative to whatever it is that they're doing. I think once you have that understanding, it's a lot easier to digest. So like even in moments where they might be more aggressive, like at my job, it's every day pretty much I might be getting hit or kicked or spit on or something like that. And that's something that most people would find very hard to like cope with, especially coming from a child, especially like in a Black family, for example. Like you're taught like, okay, children listen to adults and you don't disrespect adults, and you know, you behave a certain type of way. So if you don't know much about autism, you might react to that in a way like you're offended or you take it disrespectfully. But when you know like, okay, this kid doesn't know how to express themselves, or they don't know how to communicate what they're feeling instead of acting out in aggression, then it's easier to like be patient with them and to not hold grudges against them. And I think it's a lot easier to be compassionate. So I think if people just inform themselves more, and then also just have that understanding that you never know what somebody might be going through. Yeah. So don't just judge them, actually like try to see things from their perspective, and I think things would be a lot better.
Okay. Wow. Don't judge anyone who has autism, because they are just like you. And you have to be educated to know how to treat them, because they also are emotional just as we are. So how would you handle someone who is autistic but sometimes gets easily irritated? Should they be in the same class with people who are not autistic?
I think, in my personal opinion, that it is important to have autistic people in the same groups as non-autistic people, because that's the only way they're going to learn how to have some normalcy. And I don't really like the word normal, because it's like, it's implying that there's something wrong with them. But for lack of better words, like the only way for them to live a normal life is if they're around people who are living normal lives and they learn how to interact with them. And I know like in a school setting, they typically, so they have classes where you can be separated, but they also have the integrated classes, and they'll have like a staff member like myself who is specifically there for that autistic child, to help them work through any issues that they might be having. But yeah, like even in what I'm doing, I'm working in a clinic setting, and it's everyone in the clinic has autism, but we're preparing them to go to school with kids who don't have autism.
Okay. Wow. So back to the question, how do you treat someone who has autism and gets easily irritated? How do you handle such a person?
So it depends on the person, because different people react to different things. So I think you'd have to know, like, okay, how is it best to approach this particular person, but some ways you can do it is you could ask them like how they're feeling, or ask them to communicate what it is that they want.
Okay.
Because sometimes it's that simple that once they say it, then they're calm, but they just don't know themselves to say it. You have to like ask them or tell them to tell you what's going on in their mind.
Okay.
And I think also, obviously, keeping yourself safe, because one thing I've learned too is that people with autism can be very strong, like even in comparison to non-autistic people, like they are a lot stronger sometimes physically. So obviously making sure that yourself is safe, but like being compassionate in the moment instead of like being fearful, because they can read your emotions very easily. Just approaching them in a way that's compassionate. So for example, there's a kid that I work with who he is one of the more aggressive kids. So if you, for example, if a kid comes near his toys, even if the kid isn't even thinking about taking his toy, just the fact that they're in the vicinity of his toy, he might scream at them, he might throw something at them, he might hit them. And so when I see that he's getting escalated and he's starting off with the screaming, I'll tell him like, oh, you can ask them for space, or you can ask them to move. And it's like, once I say that, he'll say, okay, move please. And then that's it. Like he's calm, he goes back to playing and everything's fine. Same thing like if they're hitting someone, you say, you can tell them like, no, thank you, or you can ask them to stop. And you teach them something to do instead of what they're doing. So I think that's the most important piece, is like, you want them to know this isn't okay, but you have to give them a replacement instead. Like, okay, what can you do instead of doing that thing?
I think she has given me answers to things that were bothering me, because I read a post on TikTok where an autistic child was very agitated and was trying to hit his mom with anything that he could find. And in the comment section, I saw people commenting that, so why is the mom not hitting him back? Because the child was trying to abuse his mom and the mom wasn't doing anything. And others were also saying that I think the mom has over-pampered him. That is why he's behaving that way. The mom is afraid of him. That's why he keeps beating her and kicking her. Should that be done? No. As my sister here just explained, they understand, they can relate. When you show a sign of fear, they see it. So when you communicate to them some basic ethics, they get to understand and they respond to it. Don't abuse someone who is autistic. Learn how they react, how they feel, and respond to them kindly with love.
And also, a big part of like treating autism is understanding what the function of their behavior is. So they say that there's 4 main functions, so that can be attention. They do some things for attention. It could be escape, so there's something that they don't want to do. So in order to get out of doing that thing, they're doing this behavior. It could be because they want access to something, like they want a toy or they want food or something. So because they want that thing, they're acting in this way. Or it could be just that it's a sensory thing. So that just means that their body, when they do whatever that action is, it automatically gives them some sort of satisfying feeling in their body. So they don't necessarily do it to gain anything. It's just like automatic. So like if it's something that is attention maintained, you wouldn't even want to respond to it at all. Because you responding, whether it's good or bad, is going to increase the chances of that thing continuing to happen. So like in a situation like that one, where he's being abusive towards his mom, you have to understand why he's being that way towards her. Because if it is for attention, then you beating him, you might think, okay, any normal kid gets beat for something, they're going to stop doing it. That's not how their brains work. they might not even really remember or make the connection between like, okay, you're beating me because I did this.
Okay.
They just are now more escalated and upset because you're hitting them.
Yeah.
And then the next time that they're about to hit you, they might not think like, okay, if I hit my mom, she's gonna beat me. That might not even come to their mind, because their brains just don't work that way. Okay. So I think just also trying to understand them and what different behaviors they have and what functions those behaviors have helps you to get through them a lot easier and quicker. And there's ways to decrease them from happening like in the future. And it takes time. Like, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. So even though it might seem like, okay, that mom not reacting is just enabling him, it takes a while for those behaviors to go away. And you have to be consistent with how you're responding, because inconsistency can cause them to regress and just like start all over from the beginning.
Okay. Sounds great. So we are about to bring our discussion to an end. And one thing I want to say is that autistic people can live a normal life just like us, and we have to relate with them just like we relate with everyone. We just have to understand their emotions and their needs. What last thing would you want our viewers to know concerning how to handle them?
I think just the most important thing is, like I said, compassion.
Okay.
And then also understanding like it's a spectrum. So it's not always as extreme as like someone beating their mom or something like that. Like, there's a lot of people who seem normal but are actually autistic.
Okay.
So just remembering like you said, we're all humans at the end of the day, and we are a lot more similar than you might think. So just approach people with kindness.
Thank you. Approach people with kindness. So, dear viewers, if you have any questions, put it under the comment section and she will be reading and we will be responding to you. Make sure you like, you share, and then tell a friend to tell another friend that Worship Party has a new page which is the Paradigm Shift. So, do you have a social media account?
I do. I'm on TikTok. Okay. So my TikTok is just my name, @Timiekka, and
Okay, so viewers, as you are sharing and liking Worship Party, the Paradigm Shift, you also go on her TikTok page and you follow her. You may go on to ask more questions because she is specialized in the discussions that we just had.